some homes don't actually look bad. They just feel a little stuck in the past. And more often than not, it's the small details that make the biggest difference. But here's the thing. Making your home feel modern and fresh isn't about chasing the latest trends or doing expensive upgrades. Most of the time, it's about recognizing what's holding your space back and making the simple swaps that bring it up to date. So, in this video, I'll show you the most common design mistakes that instantly make your home look dated. And more importantly, what you can do instead to make your space feel fresh, timeless, and alive. So, mistake number 1 is using matching furniture sets. You know what I'm talking about here, right? Everything looks like it was bought in one trip because you've got an identical sofa, love seat, and armchairs in the same fabric and the same shape, which makes it feel like a showroom bundle as opposed to a thoughtfully designed space. And when every piece of furniture has the same silhouette and tone, nothing stands out, and the room just ends up flat and predictable. Now, yes, matching sets were popular in the past because they felt like a room was put together. But now, they make the space feel staged rather than lived in. And this approach was really popular in the 90s and early 2000s, but today it just instantly timestamps your room as if it hasn't changed in 20 or 30 years. And without variation in texture, shape, or finish, the design just feels generic and disconnected from the people who actually live there. So what should you do instead? Well, the obvious solution is you need to mix pieces and create some variety. All right, so you want to pair a sleek sofa with some vintage accent chairs or balance a leather sectional with a wood or fabric side chair. You can introduce different materials like fabric and leather or wood and metal to add some depth and interest to your space. Now, that doesn't mean you can't keep a consistent palette or tone, so the mix still feels intentional. But what you do want to do is let the silhouettes and finishes vary. So, a unique coffee table, a statement chair, or some kind of textured ottoman breaks the monotony of the space and makes the room feel really collected. Because the goal here isn't randomness, it's balance. And when you have a curated mix, it just feels timeless. While a full matching set will always feel like it belongs to another decade. Okay, mistake number 2. And this one feels a little personal to me because my own mother and many of the other mothers when I was growing up used to love this stuff. It's putting quotes on the wall. Now, I know you know what I'm talking about, right? It's words like live, laugh, love, or family is everything. Putting those on your wall was trendy in the 2000s, maybe into the 2010s, but now today they really come across as staged and generic, right? They're normally made of lightweight MDF or faux distressed plaques. They read more like filler decor than actually meaningful design. And especially when you're mixing fonts, different decals, and random frames just creates chaos instead of a cohesive story in your home. And beyond the fact that they're just undeniably cringe, you know, they've also turned into a punchline, right? These designs have become so overused that they become internet memes, which makes the room feel so much less intentional and just cookie cutter, which is not at all what you want in your space. So, if you're the kind of person who falls victim to this, what should you do instead? Well, the first thing, and this is just a design principle for everything you do, is to curate with purpose, right? If you're going to build a gallery wall, build one that tells a story with consistent frames, balanced spacing, and some kind of visual anchor. Okay? Use photography, artwork, and objects that actually connect with you, not just generic slogans that everyone can kind of relate to, right? And you want to keep things simple. One oversized piece of art or a clean grid of frames feels a lot more high-end than having walls that are covered in random words. And in the same vein, you want to allow breathing room between the frames so that the arrangement feels deliberate as opposed to feeling crowded. And if you're not sure what to put on the wall, then just try to choose something timeless. Okay, you can think of things like line, drawings, abstract pieces, or even vintage pieces of art. Add personality while still staying current and sophisticated, regardless of how trends change over time. All right, the third mistake that makes your home feel dated. And this one is awful. It's outdated window treatments. You see those stiff toppers? They were once considered formal, but today they just crowd the window and instantly timestamp the room as something from the 1950s or 60s. Okay? You don't want busy prints with fringed tassels or trims that dominate the space and make it feel visually heavy instead of visually fresh. Right? And here's something that I find a lot of older people tend to fall into, which is using curtains that exactly match the wallpaper or the upholstery, which just makes the place feel like a hotel and not a good hotel instead of your actual home. If you're overloading the space with layers using swags, pleats, sheers, and trims, you've got all those stacked together, and the place just feels fussy and overdone and leaves no room for lightness, which is what you're looking for in your home, right? So, even with good furniture, having dated curtains immediately puts the whole room back in time, and it's just not something you want to do. So, just stay away from any curtains with flowers or these sort of floral elements that's going to make it look, honestly, just like you're a grandma. So, what should you do instead? First, go for clean lines, okay? Use solid fabrics or some subtle textures that frame your window without overwhelming it. Then, try some modern styles. You know, Roman shades, sleek roller blinds, or ripple fold drapery. They bring the softness you're looking for without all the bulk of decades past if you need to, and most of you won't. But you can also upgrade your hardware. So using hidden tracks, slim rings, or just simple rods will keep the look of your curtains streamlined instead of overly ornate. And, as a general rule, lighten the palette, okay? Use neutral tones in linen, cotton, or sheer fabrics because they let the natural light filter through, and they keep the space really airy and fresh. Mistake number 4. That's making your home feel super old or outdated lighting fixtures. Okay, we all know the infamous boob light. We've all seen it, and it instantly gives away your home as an early 2000s build and just makes the space feel generic, right? If you've got rows of exposed bulb above your mirrors, that belongs backstage in Hollywood, not in a modern home. So, if you've got overly ornate chandeliers, they're just weighing the room down. You know, scrolled iron work and frosted tulip shades. They just clash with today's design language, and they don't look at home at all. And if you've got bulky brushed nickel pendants, those look way past their prime, right? They were trendy in the past, but today they're just heavy, and they're out of sync with more streamlined interiors. So what should you do instead? Well, first you want to choose some more artistic fixtures, okay? Chandeliers or pendants with clean lines and interesting shapes that can double as functional art. Then you want to mix your overhead lighting with sconces, floor lamps, and table lamps to create warmth and a sense of dimension in your space. Now, when it comes to finishes, leave the iron and brushed nickel in the past because things like matte black, brass, or even just textured glass feel a lot more current compared to those other dated materials. And if you're open to it, you can also play with some soft, warm bulbs. So LEDs at 2,700 to 3,000 give off this cozy glow without the yellow haze of older incandescent fixtures. But maybe more than anything, make sure you keep scale in mind, because a well-proportioned statement light just elevates an entire room, while having an undersized or an outdated fixture pulls everything backward in time. So, mistake number 5 is fake vintage or distressed furniture. The sanded edges, the chipped paint, and the pre-weathered finishes try way too hard, and they rarely look authentic. And this mass-produced shabby chic sort of look peaked somewhere around the mid-2010s, and now it just feels tired and cliché because when every piece is distressed, the room kind of starts to look like a stage set instead of a real home. And unlike real antiques, Fake distressed pieces only look worse over time, and they also clash with any sort of new decor. Plus, the rustic texture makes it hard to blend with modern minimalist or elegant interiors, which means that you just pigeonhole yourself into this weird, time-agnostic sort of interior space. So what should you do instead here? And I'm talking specifically to you here. First, you want to choose authentic material. Okay, so opt for solid wood with real patina or some kind of natural finish that ages beautifully, but you can still mix in true antiques. So, a single vintage cabinet or table with genuine character brings soul to a room without it feeling staged. All right, because well-made furniture with smooth finishes and timeless lines always outlasts fake distressing. And so, what you can do is pair classic wood pieces with more modern upholstery or metal accents for a collected yet curated feel. And so, the goal here is character and longevity. So, pieces that look intentional and enduring, not artificially aged. Mistake number 6 is the all-brown kitchen. The cabinets, the counters, the floors, the backsplashes even. They're all in the same warm tone, and they all blend together, which creates this really heavy look with absolutely no contrast. And I hate to say it to some of you, but this whole Tuscan-style finish, it ages really poorly. Okay, you've got busy granite with thick veining. The tumbled stone tiles and these ornate cabinet details that just scream early 2000s rather than something timeless. And so, if you've got dark cherry and maple cabinets, they soak up light and they make the space feel closed in, even if you've got a large kitchen. And on top of that, having yellow under-cabinet bulbs and warm fixtures just muddy the palette even further and make the room feel really dim and dated. Okay, so what should you do instead? Well, if you're using cherry wood in your kitchen, then you just want to swap it out for something lighter and cleaner like white oak or a rift-cut walnut. That's step 1. But step 2 is to simplify the cabinetry. So, get some flat fronts or just simple shaker doors with some streamlined hardware that will instantly read as a lot more current. And then you want to break up the monotony by balancing the wood with lighter countertops, painted cabinets, or a stone backsplash to add some contrast. And then, of course, you need to upgrade the lighting. So use neutral LED bulbs, again around 2,700 to 3,000 Kelvin, which is going to brighten the textures and the overall space instead of making things even more yellow. And then pair the warm wood that you've chosen with fresh neutrals and modern fixtures so the kitchen feels cozy and updated, not like it's stuck in the past. So a dated space doesn't always need a full renovation. Sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective. That means you don't need to throw everything out. You just need to focus on updating the big-time offenders like lighting, window treatments, wall art, paint colors, and the way you style a room, because even small changes can make a big lasting impact. So, if you enjoyed this video, I've left links to a few others you'll also like in the description, plus this one up here, which will help you think about your home in a little bit of a different way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then.